Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's an honour and a privilege to rise in the House of Commons once again after a hard-fought election. I'd like to sincerely thank the constituents of Niagara West for putting their trust in me to represent them and to be their voice in Ottawa for the 8th consecutive time. Niagara West is home to hard-working, good folks, and I'm humbled to serve them. I also want to mention our excellent campaign team who got the job done. We had dozens and dozens of extraordinary volunteers who helped me get across the finish line. Thank you to all of you who put work in. I will always remember and appreciate it. I also like to thank my family and my friends, and especially my wife, Rebecca. Whether it's during campaign time or while we're here in Ottawa, it requires a special type of person to be the spouse or the significant other of a political candidate or member of Parliament. Thank you, Rebecca, for standing by my side for more than 10 years as we continue this journey together. This journey is about my passion to serve the constituents of Niagara West. My dedication to them has never wavered, and my pledge to them is to continue working tirelessly on their behalf. Mr. Speaker, with the election now behind us, our Conservative Party begins the Parliament with a stronger and bigger national-wide Conservative team. We added 2.4 million votes compared to last election, with a total of over 8 million votes. The biggest vote count and the biggest increase in votes in our party's history. The biggest vote share since 1998. The best result in Newfoundland in 2 decades. 25 additional Conservative members of Parliament have joined us in this place. I'll add 1.2 million more votes than Doug Ford got in February in Ontario, here in Ontario for Conservatives in Ontario. We expanded our support and coalition to include union workers, young people, newcomers, and many others who had never been voted before. Our message was one of hope and change, and it still is. I'm proud of what we've achieved, and oh yes, we did come up a little bit short. So as we begin another Parliament, it's no secret that we're facing many challenges in this country. We have unjustified U.S. tariffs hurting our people and the economy. We have a housing crisis. We have innovation, investment, and productivity challenges. High youth unemployment. We have out-of-control immigration system. We have a discontent in our western provinces. Some Western folks are even thinking that separating from Canada would leave them better off. Clearly, there is a lot of work for us to do in this place. Earlier this spring, the Prime Minister was elected with a minority government, so he will need the support of others in this House to successfully pass his agenda. As our Conservative leader said, we will work together with the government on initiatives which will make life better for all Canadians. We'll also hold the government to account when they do the opposite. Unfortunately, just a few weeks into their mandate, we're now already seeing the challenges in how this Prime Minister and his ministers are approaching several files. I'd like to address some of these in my reply to the speech from the throne. The speech from the throne, as we know, was delivered by His Majesty King Charles III on behalf of the government. It's the government's plan on how to deal with the problems Canadians face, one of which is trade. We're all aware of the U.S. tariffs in Canada and how these tariffs are hurting Canadians and Canadian businesses. Conservatives believe that Canada needs to be self-reliant and much less dependent on the United States. One solution is free trade within Canada. For folks watching at home who are not yet aware, there are still dozens and dozens of regulations and red tape which make it difficult for provinces to trade with one another. Our Conservative team believes that Canada needs to be true free trade so workers can earn more, prices fall, and businesses boom. We believe that Canada must fire up free enterprise to build pipelines, power lines, ports, rails, roads, and tech, so we are strong, self-reliant, and sovereign. But is that the government's approach? It doesn't seem like it. There are deadlines they have given themselves and not much in the way of details. Deadlines cannot be met without a plan. Do they actually have a plan? Not exactly. This Prime Minister has even refused to put forward a budget this spring. Sure, there's a new spending bill in the docket, but details are scarce. It's not a plan, it's a $500 billion spending bill, but not a budget. Unfortunately, it's beginning to look like this new Liberal government is just like the old one. In many ways, their spending bill is even worse than what we saw from the previous Prime Minister. It got massive increases in consultants, bureaucracies, and overall costs of government. What's discouraging is the Prime Minister already broke his promise. He promised to keep spending growth to 2% a year. What's the actual number? It's 8%. That's 4 times what he promised. Overall, federal government spending will grow almost 3 times faster than inflation and population combined. Maybe that's the reason the Prime Minister won't put forward a budget this spring. A budget would usually have clear details as to where the money is going. But again, at this time, there's no budget and there's no plan. Without a real plan, how can a government continue to function? How can they address, for example, the daunting task of fixing the housing crisis? And yes, it's a crisis. And it's been an evolving crisis now for more than 5 years. Real estate organizations are saying that home sales are at crisis levels. They're saying the housing market is sagging. Inventory levels are ballooning, but lower interest rates have not spurred on sales. Folks aren't buying homes because they're worried about the economy. They're worried about job security. Young folks are concerned about jobs in general. There aren't enough of them. Young folks are experiencing some of the highest unemployment rates in many, many years. I heard directly from my constituents about these issues thousands of times at the doors just a few weeks ago. Young people voted for Conservatives in unprecedented numbers for a reason. We were a source of hope for them, for jobs and for housing. I can't tell you how many young people told us that they'd given up home ownership. They said that they are not able to start families because there's hardly anywhere affordable to live. There's just not enough building taking place. And as the housing market and housing crisis evolves, we now have a difficult job market. And the uncertainty is preventing young people once again from purchasing homes. I would confidently say that in many ways this generation of young people has struggled tremendously compared to others before it, due to the Liberal policies of the last 10 years. Let's talk about the GTA. The dream of home ownership is out of reach for far too many people in the GTA. The Building Industry and Land Development Association found Toronto's pre-construction home sales have collapsed and warned of a dire housing shortage within 2 years. Last month, sales of pre-construction homes were 89% below the 10-year average and decreased 72% from April 2024. This marks the 7th consecutive month of record low sales of new homes across the GTA. That is why I use the word evolving as it relates to the crisis. On the one hand, there's not enough building taking place to house Canadians who need it. On the other hand, young folks are worried about their finances and they're waiting, in many cases waiting to start families because they don't have the right accommodations. And the third part, how can they go and buy a new home when the prices are so ridiculously high? It seems like the Canadian promise that was available to generations prior has been broken. The government has simply failed young people and things are expected to get worse. The new housing industry is decelerating quickly, and a massive supply deficit into 2027 and 2029 period is taking shape. Overall, things aren't looking great on the housing front, and once again, without a budget, without a plan, the government is not taking its responsibilities as Canadians seriously. Let's also talk about folks who are lucky enough to already own a home. How are they doing financially? Well, not well, in fact. Mortgage delinquencies have gone up by 6.5%. 90-plus day delinquencies increased by 72% in Ontario since the first quarter of 2024. What about the folks who have other types of credit? 1.4 million Canadians were unable to make a credit payment in the first quarter of 2025. Delinquencies rose nearly 9% year over year, with non-mortgage delinquencies being the most severe in Ontario, up 24%. Rising costs and squeezed paychecks have hit youth especially hard, as Canadians 25 and under experienced a 15% increase in missed payments. 90-plus day delinquency rates for just credit cards saw a 22 spike amongst those 26 years old year over year. I'm worried about young Canadians given these figures. Equifax says that the wages entering the job market are not matching the amount young folks may need so they can pay off their debt. Urgent action is clearly required now. Workable, timely solutions are critical. I'm a bit concerned about some of the slogans in the Prime Minister's announcement and the throne speech, although he says he's not a fan of them. What Canadians desperately need is for all of us to come together with a plan, but a plan that clearly outlines the actions and a plan that comes in the form of a budget. This government must release a spring budget so we can have a path forward. Otherwise, I fear that all these crises Canadians are currently going through will not be adequately addressed. I'm worried for young Canadians, I'm worried for homeowners, and I'm worried for families. As I mentioned earlier, we need to work towards helping Canadian businesses in these difficult times. I'm ready to do so. I hope the government will take things seriously given the issues we face. Our Conservative team stands with Canadians, and we're ready to offer our help to make life better for families across our beautiful country, where Canada is affordable, safe, self-reliant, and united. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Madawaska-Restigouche.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Mon collègue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague talked about the cost of living. Well, I have good news for you. Last month, we increased admissibility to the Canada Dental Care Plan to all age groups. That means that over 8 million Canadians now have access to affordable dental care that they need. Here's my question. Does the member for Niagara West feel as excited about this good news as I do? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Niagara West.
I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. It's interesting. I was out with colleagues last night, and there was a dentist among us talking about the program and how difficult it is for some dentists to be able to sign up because of the rates that the government actually offers them. So once again, we have this great national program, but we expect people on the ground to take the haircut and take the hit. And that doesn't seem reasonable. So of course these programs are beneficial. Of course these programs are great, but they've got to be managed properly. And one thing I'll tell you about this Liberal government, they don't know how to manage anything. If the last 10 years shows us anything, is that they have a hard ability to lead and to manage anything.
L'honorable député.
The honourable member.
Un instant là.
Just a moment.
Aidez-moi. Kamloops.
Help me out here. Kamloops, Thompson.
Nicola.
Nicola.
It's always a pleasure to rise on behalf of the people from Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola, especially when I receive such cheers from my Liberal colleagues. It's also, I thank them for their cheers. It's also especially an honor to rise when the member for Kingston and the Islands was going to grace us with yet another intervention, but you have to hear from me instead. Mr. Speaker, I listened intently to my colleague's speech, and he spoke about what he was hearing at the doors, and we heard about elbows up, and we've got a plan, and yet the Liberals come with no plan, no budget. What would his constituents and his view think, Mr. Speaker, if he ran his offices or Parliament without a plan and just simply relied on, dare I say, slogans? Thank you.
The honourable member for Niagara West.
Sure, thank you. I want to thank my colleague from Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola, for the question. And you know, one of the challenges that we see, and what we've seen for the last number of years. So, for all the new people that are just joining us here in the House, I can assure you that there's been years and years where the Liberal Party has talked about their plans. They've talked about their communications. They've talked about all these grandiose things they're going to do. And yet they never deliver it. And I have to laugh when I hear new members come into this House and say, we have got to fix this problem. Yeah, you're right. It's the problem you guys created. It's the problem you guys actually created. So thanks for showing up and giving us a hand. We appreciate that. So
yeah, through the chair.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
That's right. Through the chair. So, Mr. Speaker, to my honourable colleague, what I say is you not only need a plan, but you need to make sure you implement that plan. And that's something we've never seen on this side of the House in the last 10 years.